Fluorescent. Today we have with us Mariana Aristizabal. Mariana trained as an actor in Colombia before moving to London 5 years ago. Today, Mariana is a drama facilitator for children, a duty manager for a charity called Theatre Delhi, a storyteller for a centre called Discover, and finally, a guest lecturer at the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama. In fact, Mariana has her own theatre company called MarianaMalena Theatre, which you can stay tuned to hear more about. Hi Mariana, how are you?
Good, Savithaa, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So can you let us know where in the world you are right now and where you are from?
I'm in London, in the UK, and I am originally from Bogota, Colombia.
Can you tell me more about yourself and what you do in your creative practice as an artist?
So I am a theatre maker, an actor, a director, a facilitator, and right now I have my own theatre company that is called MarianaMalena with Malena Arcucci.
What's the theatre scene like in Colombia?
As a society, theatre is still like a baby and therefore is not very well known as it is in the UK. We are still learning what theatre is and how people relate to it. So there are a lot of theatres and a lot of theatre companies and a lot of artists, but they mainly work on the fringe kind of side of theatre. Over the last 10 years, slowly, the people that work in theatre have been able to build audiences. People are starting to relate with theatre. And this is, of course, only in Bogota, which is quite like a hub for culture. I did an MA called Performance Practice as Research.
Did you go into freelancing straight after?
Yeah. I think it's just the nature of my practice, I suppose.
Yeah, true.
And I am not entirely sure that I want to be attached to a place for let's say 9 to 5 every day. What I enjoy the most about freelancing is the variety and the opportunities that it gives you, and then that you can choose what to do when.
Yeah.
In a way, it's not always true, and it doesn't necessarily happen like that always, but having the ability to, or the freedom to decide how to arrange your week, your schedule, what projects you want to be on board, what projects you don't want to be on board, is quite interesting. And then if you think about it, if you are a working actor in this country, at least you work by projects, no? So a project starts and then finishes and then something else happens, so it's constantly changing. So in that sense, it's very difficult to get a full-time job because it won't allow you to be in those short creative processes that happen when a production's up. The two big ones are making sure that you look after yourself and that you don't overwork, or because you are afraid that probably there won't be any work the following day. So I've experienced that a lot in the last 2 years, and I've burnt myself, which is not nice. And then you kind of see the consequences. I started getting ill really often, and I used to work really long hours and cycling everywhere. So making sure that you are that your health is okay and that your body is okay and that you are emotionally feeling okay, that is really important. And I think that's very difficult to kind of balance and understand how to and when to stop. For me, it's very difficult to stop. When I like a project, I find it very, very, very difficult to stop, but that's something that you kind of need to learn. And then the other thing is, of course, the economic challenge, no? Because maybe one day you get a gig and it's quite nice and it's quite good, but you don't know how long will you have that money for. So if you need to kind of be super tight with yourself, or you can spend it all, or how to manage your finances, I find it quite hard. And usually I guess in general, I've found that there's two or three factors that are quite challenging. one, I find being a migrant is quite difficult in terms of like the economic scale that you're positioned in. Second one, being a woman, it makes it like double. There's double the difficulty. Well, English as a second language is another difficulty, and that people kind of are a bit more wary of you. And then that in theatre, well, even though there is quite a lot of money and like there's money and investment from like the government and various institutions, I think we still get a bit too little when we get paid. I think I struggle with the idea of freelancing for at least 1 or 2 years. I hated it and I couldn't cope with it. And I think I'm learning how to live with it and how to enjoy it and be aware of what is the balance. I don't think I have it yet. But yeah, I'm learning and I'm enjoying it so far.
Yeah. You've also mentioned MarianaMalena Theatre Company. Can you tell me more about it?
MarianaMalena is a company that Malena and I started in 2016. We want to collaborate with people. In our last play, we collaborated with Santiago Pelufo, that is a writer, he's a journalist and an activist on the one side. Then we also collaborated with Brian Munoz, which is a Colombian musician. Then also with Andrea Spisto, which is a Venezuelan dramaturg, and Christian From, that is a movement director and a dancer. And then we had Katie Melton as a producer. We like to work in a horizontal way. In our rehearsal room, we, as our rule, is that we have to try every single idea that every person in the room has. We like to tell stories that use various languages, not only verbal languages, but also like media, and how like the body interacts with the space, and how like all the different languages that you can have on stage. For me, the idea of theater, if I think about it in Latin America, is about building communities, not only on stage but off stage. So with the people that you work with and the way you work with people. And then we usually like think about creación colectiva, which is like the Latin American way of devising theater. So the processes in creación colectiva are of course way longer, because of course you don't have all the resources. I suppose there's two different reasons for this. One is that the royalties are expensive. That is very difficult to put on plays from like authors or playwrights. And then the other thing is that, at least in Colombia, given the particular reality that we live in as a country, and that is very different from like the narratives of the Western world, that not necessarily all the plays can speak to the audience. So in that sense, you have a lot of groups that like are established groups of people that collaborate and work together in many different projects, and they create and they write their stories. So it's basically they become their own playwrights of their own stories. And so in that sense, I find that super interesting and really challenging and very difficult. Of course, these plays sometimes can become universal, sometimes not. Sometimes they can only speak to a really, really little audience, but other times they manage to actually speak to an entire universe and open the possibilities of understanding a different world and a different reality. And I think this is what we're interested in.
The last performance that I saw, which was the two of us, you had different things. Like you had music, you had some dance in it. You spoke in Spanish and in English. So is that how most of your performances are like? Do you like to incorporate music and text and dance and whatnot?
For me, I think all these elements provoke different things and generate different emotions. And I find super interesting when you, as, I don't know, a show is able to stimulate different things in you. And I think that to make a performance richer, you do need to have many different elements.
Yeah.
And if you have just text, for me, although you can be the most amazing, like, no, actor in text.
Yeah.
For me, it's quite nice to have the richness of other things and like other nuances and other like sounds and moves in it. Theatre should be a party, and is a space for reflection, but for enjoyment. That's what you need to create on stage. A party. I think it's been really interesting for me, in my personal practice, to understand what is it that I need as an individual to improve. And so, like, I don't know, I've been doing training and like singing and trying to keep up my skills, so when we get back to our studio, then we're like able to get back on it, kind of thing. Get some sun for me, at least, is like a source of happiness. Remember not to be so tough on yourself. I am very tough on myself most of the time, but just be kind, and also allow yourself to enjoy the moments of unproductiveness. So basically, we were able to record, the two of us, just before lockdown, and we were able to show it at Theatre Delhi just before lockdown. And we are taking part in an initiative called Off Fringe, which is an online festival that is going to be going on for lots and lots of weeks, and we are going to be part of it, so you can watch our show from your house, and if you want to contribute or donate something towards our you're more than welcome to do it.